All right, good friends, how are you today? Aaroneschenburg here, Honest Dame, bringing you some honest astrology about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. It's going to start on Sunday, the 29th of March 2020, and it will last, the conjunction will last and be exact on the 4th of April. Okay, but we're going to still be feeling this. We've been feeling this past week leading up to this, and we're certainly going to feel it a little bit after as well, about through the 7th or 8th. Let's go to the chart and just let's talk about this. What does this mean? We've had a lot of outer planet activity here at the top of the year, and it's going to continue through December, right? We had Saturn and Pluto conjunction, right, in January. Now we've got, Mars is an outer planet as well. It's outside of Earth, but really we look at Neptune and Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus is the main outer planets, but still having Mars up there, connected with Jupiter, with Pluto, with Saturn here on the 31st. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is going to happen in December 21st, 22nd. So we have a lot of outer planet connections happening here in 2020, which, this hasn't happened in about 130 years, all in the same sign. All right. So this is pretty rare stuff. We're dealing with a lot right now socially, right? I don't want to get too much into what's going on there, but really the aspects of this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. All right. We're all dealing with our own stuff. We're dealing with our shadow. Okay. Pluto here represents, yes, I talk about transformation a lot, transcendence. It's the planet associated with Scorpio, with things beneath the surface, the things that are hidden, out of plain sight, right? And it's Pluto's job, which Pluto, interestingly enough, is the higher octave of Mars. Okay, what that means is Venus is the lower octave, Neptune is the higher octave, Mars lower octave, Pluto higher octave, Mercury lower octave, Uranus higher octave. So these particular planets have a associated kind of energy to them. All right, where Mars is our planet of action, passion, desires, moving forward and making things happen. It's the brain wants water, grasp the water. It's my ability to make that grasp, that connection. It's putting the foot on the accelerator and saying, let's go. Okay. So that's Mars' job. Mars now just had a Jupiter and a Pluto conjunction, and here it's going to connect with Saturn. But in the sense of Pluto, it's actively seeking transformation. It's actively doing something, right? So when we're in the sign of Scorpio, this is when we look at, autumn and fall, right? So things that have bloomed and blossomed through the spring to summertime start to change. There's an active change happening where they wilt their flowers, they wilt their leaves, they go internal, and they move all of their resources inside to stay alive, right? This is partially where we're at as a community globally, not just here in the United States, but a lot of things that are going on worldwide right now. We're being asked to shed our leaves and go internal. The slight irony behind that is it's springtime, right? So there's this wanting, a desire to be out, to be social. Well, it's spring here in Northern America anyway. North of the equator. Sorry, my friends in Australia, it's becoming wintertime for you right now, right? I'm not sorry. It's beautiful, but either way, you know what I'm saying. So here, north of the equator, where it's becoming spring, there's this yearning to want to get out and get things done and do stuff, and we're being forced. Many of us are being forced to stay and sit with ourselves. We're sitting with ourselves maybe more often now than we ever have in our entire lives. So we're going to be rediscovering our personal shadow. Okay, this is where things get really interesting because Jupiter is our planet of expansion and more, 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 more. Whatever it touches, it's generally this happy-go-lucky planet that just wants to expand, wants to express itself, wants to exaggerate. Okay, exaggerate. Sometimes we can look at the Sagittarian as if you have a lot of Sagittarius in your chart, sometimes it's like you're presenting words on a plate that make them more exciting. These sizzle words, like you would open up an Applebee's menu, and it's just like, oh, sizzle words, you get it. So, that's Jupiter's job, our happy-go-lucky planet of expansion and more, 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 to accentuate things. Okay? So we have a planet of expansion, exaggeration, and a planet of death, destruction, turning chaos into peace. We have the shadow going inward, hidden agendas, things that are beneath the surface. I can sit here in this chair and smile and put on, astrology video, and I can do my daily practices, but underneath there's always, you know what I mean? Not just myself, but anybody. You know what I mean? Anybody. We always have something that's not always present. We can be triggered by someone. We can be triggered by something that all of a sudden sets us off from our normal, right, like happy, peacefulness. Okay? And this exaggeration mode right now that's coming on between, it's already been happening this past week, but from the 29th to the 4th and just a bit beyond, this shadow side of oneself, the side we're not used to seeing so much, and it's not even like playing, it's not like hiding something intentionally, right? Right, it's our general personality could be very positive, very outgoing, very upbeat, very happy, and then all of a sudden we get hit with something and it spirals into, a depression or a sadness, or it can be tyranny. Okay, and since we're tyranny, we can become tyrants. All right, acting through that shadow side of self, acting through the side that doesn't come out and present that often. Okay, so we can be experiencing, great depression, spiraling, saying, I'm not enough to create something, or I'm not enough. And further, we're dealing with the sign of Capricorn. Okay, the sign of Capricorn is certainly about law and order and the system. Okay, so if we become confrontational with other people during this time, it's just like, well, my logic, my law, and my order, I am the authority, and my authority supersedes that of your authority because you're you and I'm me, right? We can be very combative and squared off during this time because our way is the right way and the highway, and it might be true. And that's, again, there's always fun little paradoxes. It's just like that, being right isn't always right. Being right isn't always right. It's how we handle ourselves during this time. So we can certainly have this sense of, again, my authority being greater than that of your authority because I am me, I am my individual self. This is Capricorn, right? Neptune and Pisces, this is all this oneness energy. But as far as Capricorn goes, it's me, my, I. It's like the call and answer to Aries is self, and it's just like, this is truly self. This is self becoming perfected, self coming into work, into balance, and to the laws and orders that I obeyed myself by. Get up and make the bed in the morning and brush your teeth and do eat some breakfast, wash the dish afterward. Or do you get up and leave the bed a mess? Do you eat breakfast, throw the dish in the sink? You know what I mean? It's just like how we govern ourselves. So we can have this exaggerated sense of how I'm governing myself is the right way, and maybe you should be doing this as well. And that can certainly find combativeness during this time. On another side, we could be feeling weakened, by not being powerful enough to deal with the outside authority that does govern our lives as a whole. Yeah. And that certainly is going on right now. So as we feel this outside authority, this outside presence, this boss, this, government on one side, saying, well, my authority supersedes that of your personal sovereignty. And you must obey these laws and orders and commands, right? You must obey this for your safety, for your health, despite economical health or economical wealth, or not being depressed as a society. We're going to see what's the right answer for this whole situation that we're dealing with. I don't know. I'm not here to answer that. You know what I mean? But we're in a situation that we're in, regardless of what was, could have been done differently, or how it should have gone, or what could be coming up. So we're at this time of, severe isolation for many of us, severe separation, which is, kind of Capricornic. It's, again, it's our individualness. And we're being forced to sit our individualness by ourselves, again, sitting with something or feelings that we might have used our social abilities to avoid in the past. Does that make sense? So, when we're dealing with our own stresses, okay, and it's easy to, I'm just going to go to yoga class right now, or I'm just going to go play a video game right now, or I'm just going to go watch a movie, or I'm just, I'm going to do this, and we can bypass, what I mean? We can bypass our shadow. We can bypass the thing in our life that's holding us back from our own personal transformation. We can ignore it. We can sweep it under the rug, right? Hidden, out of sight, and go be social, and go to a fire, and go to the beach, and go hang out with friends, and go whatever it may be. And this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction during this time is like a magnifying glass onto our own personal issues, right? Our own tyrant, our own weak and frail victimization, right? We're both at the same time, right? We're not a victim and we're not a tyrant, but we can be tyrannical and we can play the victim card. And we're being asked to expand beyond this and to take a look at our own shadow, and especially if it comes up in the form of some sort of argument or some sort of confrontation, right? And how we respond in that moment, in that instance. Is it with anger? Is it with peace? Because it's something that's within inside, right? And this planetary alignment is saying and suggesting that we take a good look at it. We sit with it. We don't ignore it. We don't run. We don't bury it and busy ourselves in ignoring it, but facing it head on, saying thank you to it. Maybe you served me as a purpose at some point in my life, and now I need to take this time to change this aspect of myself, of my own authority that I think I might have over others, over my authority of, of not wanting to bend. Yeah. And we need to be able to flow like the water. That's what its opposite sign, North Node down there in Cancer, tells us, just to flow like water. This is the water flowing side, right? And it's just like, look at this giant rock. When the flowing river comes to this giant rock, there might only be this little tiny gap right there, okay? Did you see between my finger? I don't know what it is, nanu, I don't know. But that little tiny space of water, or of air that water's going to go through, and eventually that hardened rock is going to form and open up and open up and open up. But we have to let that emotion, is the water, we have to allow that emotion, that water, to flow. Yeah. So if we're burying that aspect of self, the authoritative tyrant of ourselves, if we're burying our weak and not able to stand up for ourselves. I don't know what the proper word for that would be. I think that sums it up. Not being able to stand up for ourselves and stand strong with the backbone. And when we have this outside authority coming in, do we just, do we fold in, fold up, and just say, okay, whatever you want? So there's a balance, right? And this next week is huge for recognizing this within ourselves. And the goal over all this is to empower us, right? Is to sit with this energy, is to allow that water to flow, to open up these hard crevices, this hardened rock of reality, which is our concept of reality, right? And allow the emotion to flow, to form, to reform us, okay, to being better than we were, right? So if we don't have some of these things happen, sometimes we don't know, that's my shadow, that's part of myself that I have to focus on, that's part of myself that I need to fix. We talked, I think, about last week, if you're being triggered by someone, it's like, well, is it the other person or is it you? It's your trigger. It's your button that's being pressed. So why and how are you allowing those buttons to be pressed? And is there a way to, flow, to move about that to where we don't get upset, right? Or we don't feel weak and powerless, that we feel empowered and strong and not, you are the one that pushed my button, right? Whatever's in our cup is what comes out. We bump into each other and there's water in my cup, water comes out. If we bump into each other and there's coffee in my cup, coffee comes out. If we bump into each other and tea comes out, it's tea. If we bump into each other and anger comes out, that's because there's anger somewhere deep inside. And right now it's saying, okay, recognize this in self. Whatever it is, we all have a shadow. If it's not anger, it can come out in many different ways, and you'll understand this next week and what it is for you, right? We can, we're dealing with Pluto as well, which is about sex, money, power, a desire for these things. So it might not be anger, we could be a misuse of sex, or a misuse of our money, or a misuse of our power, of our own ability, to manage those things properly, to manage those aspects in our life, which are all important. We're sexual beings, right? So that's certainly an important part of life. Money is how we survive. It's an important part of life. Being empowered, being a powerful person is a part of life. But we can all misuse any of these things for the not greater good. Right? So this week we're going to be called out. We're going to be exaggerating these shadows. We're going to be exaggerating, it's like the princess and the pea, okay? Where that little pea is buried under there, and we're gonna feel it, and it's gonna feel like a mountain, not just a pea, and we have this great opportunity to take this lesson, to take this knowledge, and allow that death, destruction, and transformation aspect to properly happen. So that way, by this moving into the second week of April, we are the phoenix rising from the ashes. But it's important that the ashes are created first. It's not just this beautiful flying mythical bird that comes from nothing. It has to be the destruction first. We have to face our shadow first. We have to deal with whatever it is that we're burying, that we're hiding. And once we deal with that, we're going to come out as much stronger, healthier, happier individuals. Right? It's another beautiful day, my friends. As always, have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Week and a half, 2 weeks dealing with whatever it is we're dealing with. Have a happy, wonderful day. And we'll see you tomorrow.